You were successful. You're successful now, go out and be successful in something else. I would have told myself to keep my head up, man. I mean, there are far greater tragedies in life, Joe, than not winning a Super Bowl, man.
What up, fam? Welcome back to the show. Today's guest is someone real special. It's not too often that I get to connect with another former NFL player that played at my college, University of Nevada, Las Vegas. I think I may be the last person drafted out of that school, and it's been over 10 years. And Adam Seward was drafted before I got to college. So he's a couple years older than me. And he was someone that I really looked up to, even though I never had really met him because of what he had done going from a small school, getting drafted and playing the NFL for 5 years. So I connected with him just a couple months ago and wanted to have him on the show so we could jam out and talk about our time at UNLV, what it was like going to school in Vegas, and our time in the NFL. And there's a lot of similarities, and we dive into his transition out and how he navigated that loss of identity and the structure that football provides. And what he did, which is similar to part of my journey, is he traveled. And travel is such a powerful, powerful medicine, especially when on the journey of rediscovering yourself. He went to Mexico City, and then he moved to Asia. I think he was abroad for quite a few years. He ended up learning 4 different languages, and he is just a real go-getter. And he has found a lot of success outside of the game. And I know this conversation is going to add a lot of value to you and your life. I hope you enjoy the show. But before we dive in, I want to mention the launch of a new powerful and transformative community. Although there are countless communities and networks of high-impact leaders, entrepreneurs, and influential visionaries, what they all lack is the depth of heartfelt connection that can only be achieved through what's known as communitas. Communitas refers to an unstructured state in which all members of a community are equal, allowing them to share a common experience, facilitated through a rite of passage. This is what allowed me to create such unbreakable bonds with my teammates during my time in the NFL, and why I'm so passionate and excited about facilitating an initiation into a new type of community, one where all of its members are focused on embodying their highest potential and fullest expression, who also have the desire to use their impact and influence to create a more beautiful world right here and right now. If you're interested in learning more or feeling called to apply, check out the link in the show notes. Without further ado, enjoy the show. Adam, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Joe, good morning. Thanks for having me, bro. I'm well, really well.
Yeah, it's good to hear, man. I'm fucking stoked to drop in with a fellow UNLV rebel. It's not too many of us that made it to the big show. Very few, actually. I think I might be the last guy that was drafted. I was over 10 years ago, and I know you played in 2000. I think you got drafted in 2005 or 2006, right before I got to UNLV. So I remember
2005,
hearing your name, looking up to you, and we actually just connected for the first time a few weeks ago. I knew I had to have you on the show and to drop in with some of your experience, man. But yeah, man, I really appreciate having you.
No, bro. It's always a pleasure to converse, man, with a former rebel. So always a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Let's start with the college experience, man. The thing I always got, especially from other athletes I was drafted with and players in the NFL, a lot of guys coming from top schools like Alabama and Florida and all these SEC schools or Big Ten schools or Pac-10 schools. Not a lot of guys coming out from the Mountain West, which I don't even think if the Mountain West is still a conference, but definitely not a lot of players from UNLV in a smaller school. And especially when I told people I played football in Vegas and went to college in Vegas, they always ask me, man, what was that experience like? How did you survive? Because everybody sees Vegas as this big party, destination. So, did you ever get that question? And how would you answer that? How did you survive playing and having that experience of playing football and going to college in Las Vegas?
Well, I actually moved here at a young age. So you see the old school retro UNLV sweater here. My dad coached here in the 80s under Wayne Nunley. Icky Woods was a freshman when he got here. So, he's the highest drafted rebel to date. I believe he is. early second round. But yeah, I was drafted by Carolina, man. So I went out to the Bible Belt and I got the same questions. I've never met anybody from Las Vegas, and how did you survive? And I would lose all my money, all the stereotypical stuff you hear. I tried to be an ambassador for Las Vegas, especially growing up here, going to high school here. Las Vegas is dear to my heart, and I wanted to show people that Las Vegas produces good dudes, and we're just normal people. And I think it's changing now with all the sports betting and pro teams coming to Las Vegas, events, the Final Four, the West Regional is going to be here in Las Vegas. So it's slowly changing. People are moving out here. But yeah, I mean, as early as 2005 when I was drafted, it was still this, I can't believe somebody's actually from Las Vegas mentality. But to me, it was just like any normal college experience. I lived on campus, third, fourth year, I moved off and I had a great experience. I didn't play poker for a living like people say, and some people actually do. I have friends who finance their way through college playing poker. But yeah, for me, it was football. It was eat, breathe, sleep football. And I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed playing for UNLV. It was one scholarship offer. I was a 2-star recruit. So to touch on your point about some of the bigger schools, yeah, I had a chip on my shoulder and I wanted to prove that I could play. And I ran my mouth a lot when I'd play some of those big schools, especially ones that didn't offer me. Bruce Snyder comes to mind. He was the head coach at Arizona State when I was getting recruited, and he ended up being our offensive coordinator later in my UNLV career. And yeah, I lit into him. So where was my scholarship, man? I ran out of scholarships. Like ran out, meaning he gave it to somebody else. And so, what are they going to say at that point? I should have offered me, but they didn't. And it worked out. It worked out. And now, you and I and a couple other players, we kind of carry the torch for those Rebels that were drafted. And wish there was more, but hopefully there will be. But yeah, it's hard to believe that probably the last 5 Rebels drafted. I mean, Eric Wright, Frank Summers, you, me, Ryan Claridge. There are probably a few more, and I hate to. Can you name a few more? I feel bad if I forget people. But
yeah. So, I mean, did not getting a lot of scholarship offers, did that create a chip on your shoulder playing at a small school like UNLV? And how did you think that propelled you into an opportunity to get drafted? Because a lot of people aren't going to UNLV with the mindset. I mean, there's a lot of people that thought they were going to get drafted and didn't realize how hard it was. But for me, I mean, I was a realist. I went to UNLV because I had a few other scholarship offers, but I wanted to play right away. I didn't want to sit on the bench at one of these bigger schools for 2 or 3 years in redshirt. And I just wanted to play the game that I loved. And I remember had a few coaches that like, hey man, you played at UNLV. It's going to be a challenge to actually get drafted, but you're good enough to get an opportunity. And when I saw my name, get called in the 4th round, it was like, holy cow, like let's go. I got an opportunity. What was that process like for you going through school and maybe having a chip on your shoulder and then being able to actually get an opportunity to get drafted and go play in the league?
I mean, it was really special. It was scary at first, like you said. I wanted to get more offers. Everybody gets letters, and I think fewer people then get phone calls, and so you work your way up. And then fewer people get actual official visits. So I got a ton of letters, got a ton of phone calls, but I only got one official visit. I took a bunch of unofficial ones, but yeah, it was heartbreaking to get to the end when you think you're this great high school player and you get one offer. So that took a while to digest. And then I went to UNLV and redshirted my first year, played 2 games, but at that time you could play 3 and still redshirt. So then I came to grips with, came to reality. And so maybe I'm not that good. Maybe I just need to work harder. So that pushed me to work hard. And then my freshman year, redshirt year, I started quite a few games and never looked back. But yeah, I think you have to come to grips and put it in the past and say, look, this is what reality is. This is what I wanted, but this is how it is. And you have to make a decision to move forward and not keep looking in the past. And like I said earlier, I use that as motivation. I didn't say, well, I wish I would have been here. I wish I would have been there. And so for kids who don't get the offers they want and they get a chance somewhere, like you said, you can't look back. You got to take it and run with it. And so I was a rebel. I was at UNLV. I didn't get offered by, Pac-12 schools. I use it as motivation and didn't say, God, I wish I wish I could transfer now. I mean, no, I was a rebel man. And so I made as many tackles as I could, Joe. I made as many tackles, and I lifted
tackle machine.
I lived, eat. I knew I could do it, man. And so, yeah, when that Balesto and national report, those reports come out your junior year that show you kind of if you're draft eligible, and I was really high on it, then it was like, dude, I can do this, man. And then it even motivated me further to keep pushing and start working on some of those, 40-yard dash, the 5, 10, 5, some of those combine drills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a testament really too to any young athlete that maybe going to a small school, not have a lot of those opportunities coming out of high school and going to college, that, if you're good enough, the NFL is going to give you an opportunity. I mean, I played with a offensive lineman that played out of a D3 school. He was drafted in the second round. And so, a lot of people are like, I just didn't have the same opportunities, or I went to a smaller school. It's like, if you're good enough, you're going to make it. And one thing I want to talk to you about, because going to UNLV, another reason I ended up going to UNLV, because they had a new coaching staff. It was Mike Sanford. And I really got sold on this. I have an underdog mentality. And I had this dream of shifting this program around. And I said, you can be a part of something special. And at that time, I think we went 10 years in a row with 2-win seasons. And it was my junior year and my senior year, we ended up going 5-7 both those years, barely missing a bowl game. And it was a huge disappointment. I won't go too much into that. But I want to talk about, not having success as a team, as a football player, how fucking hard that is. I was as an offensive lineman, I wasn't a quarterback or a big star on defense or somebody that could really affect the game in a really big way. And so I played really hard, and it's like no matter how hard I tried, it's like wasn't equating to victories on the field and the success that I wanted. And as a football player, you're reliant on a whole team. And just kind of want to hear your perspective on the challenges of not finding team success, even though you were finding that individual success and having the path to actually play at the next level.
Yeah, well, I can say I didn't always handle it the right way, Joe. I made comments in the paper. I threw coaches under the bus. I threw teammates under the bus, and stuff that I really regret, that I was young. I was stupid. But you get frustrated, man, especially when you're out there making 16, 18 tackles a game. And you're just, I don't want to throw kickers under the bus here, but yeah, a kicker misses a field goal, a chip shot to win the game. And what are we doing here?
Fuck those kickers, man.
Yeah, you're off.
One job.
You lose a game. You lose a game 7-0. We lost to San Diego State at home 7-0. We played Wisconsin at Wisconsin, and it is 11-0 in the fourth quarter. It's 11-0 in the fourth quarter, man. And we gave up a blocked field goal for a touchdown and 2 safeties. What do you do? You're just like, what, you want to lash out. They're like, our coaches suck. Everybody sucks. Well, somebody do something. And you don't know how to do that as a young player. I guess some players are better than others. I was terrible. It gets frustrating, especially going back when you are like a 2-star recruit and you're playing with these guys who were more highly touted out of high school. It gets really frustrating, man.
We were 5-6 my junior year, and we had gone 2-10, I think, for 10 or 12 years in a row as a university. And so we had this. We finally broke the 2-win record thing, and we were 5-6 going into our last game, playing at San Diego State. San Diego State was 1-10. They had lost to a 1AA school at that time. They were a terrible team, and so we're like, oh, we're going to go crush these guys, and it was. For us to get into a bowl game, I think Colorado State had to lose, and they played earlier than us, and they lost. And it's like, oh, we punched our ticket. Let's go. Yes. And we go play this game, final game of the season, and we get smoked 42-14. And it was just the most demoralizing, deflating, just like, fuck, man, are you serious? Oh. I just never forget that, man. And then we went 5-7 again my senior year. It's hard.
Yeah, we went 5-7. So we went 6-6 my junior year. I would have got us a bowl these days. But we lost 2 or 3 close games. We opened the season 4-1. So it's hard, man. I really wish that, and I'm going to try to do this with my kids. I'm going to try to train them a little better in handling the media. I don't think players get enough. I don't think you get enough coaching in that as a freshman in college. I think that should definitely be there should be more classes or more tutoring.
I mean, imagine what they go through now with like social media and stuff. Like, holy shit, we didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, you can just get on your phone and mouth off at any point. It's scary, but I definitely think that there is an art to that, and it's hard when you're young. You got to have somebody coach you and tutor you, not to just pop off and how to carry yourself. And I didn't have that. And I got a little better in my pro career, but I still had moments. I mean, I had moments when I was playing for Carolina where I'd have a big game and here I am sitting behind 2 Pro Bowlers and okay, trade me, or, are you going to trade me or are you going to play me? I mean, you can't just sit me on special teams all whole life, but yeah, it's tough, man. It's a team game and there's beauty to that, camaraderie. But yeah, even I watch these guys play tennis and I'm like, dude, it's just me, I mean, I probably should have played an individual sport, but I don't know, bro.
Dude, I think about that all the time. Like, how successful would I have been if I played an individual sport like tennis and like been able to focus and not? It's funny how when you're on a team that like UNLV, where it's like no matter how much energy you put into it, it's not equating to team success, and how that you still feel like a failure. You still feel like this, like not what else can I do? And you naturally, it's crazy. I've literally had those same thoughts of, man, I should have chosen an individual sport because then I would be like, it would all be on my back, and I would be able to find success. It's fascinating that we both had that.
I should have just been a better teammate, man. If I could go back, I'd have been a little more. I'd have just tried to. I would have. Now, looking back, Joe, when you made it, you're a vested NFL veteran. That's what I wanted to be, and so I put all my eggs into that basket. Had I known that things were going to turn out this way, I would have just focused more on my teammates junior, senior year. I would have just, I would have put more. I would have tried to do more to be a better teammate. And I think at that point, when you know that you're so close to your dream, for me, I didn't put as much into my teammates as I should have. And that's one of my big regrets. I was more out there to just like, look, what do I got to do to get drafted on the first day? At this point, if we're not going to win games and and I've got a chance to get drafted, what am I doing here? I'm going to try to get drafted. I mean, that's so whatever I could do, whatever I could showcase, is what I did. And yeah, man, it's tough. So,
yeah, it's interesting you say that. I feel like on reflection, one of the things that I reflect on is, how could I shifted the team dynamics or made a bigger impact? No matter how hard I played on the field in between the whistles, just wasn't enough. And what I realize on reflection now, learning about myself, is, man, I could have stepped up as a leader in a lot of different ways. Exactly. I could have challenged the guys more to step up and made them play, or inspired them to play with more heart in the way I was trying to do. But I had a lot of reasons why, and it was just, it was really challenging in those days as a young kid to step up in that way.
No, you're frustrated. I could have got up more in between series. I could have got up more and talked to my teammates more. I mean, how many guys were probably looking at me? And I just didn't see it because I was so focused on getting to the NFL, not getting hurt, making the tackles I had to make. It should have been more about winning games. And yeah, man, I guess I just got frustrated. I guess eventually it just got to me. And I said, well, if we're not going to win and my coaches don't care and my teammates don't care, and I don't think that was the case. I think they did care. To me, they didn't care. If we're not winning, then they must not care. I'm out here doing this. And so it was just a very, kind of selfish perspective. And yeah, I could have done more, man. So yeah, what do you do at this point, man? So,
yeah, let's talk about your NFL career, making it to the NFL. How would you describe your NFL career and that experience?
It was a dream, man. It was a dream. At the end of the day, I wish I'd have played 20 years. I played 5. You're a vested NFL veteran. I heard my name called, not on the first day, but on the second day. It was a dream, man. I'll never forget it, where I was when that call came from Carolina. Going to camp, making the team as a rookie, playing in some big games. It was a dream. I don't know how else to describe it. It was a lifelong dream. You wish every birthday before you blow out your candles, Joe, you want to make it to the NFL. That's all you wish for.
So what was your experience like getting that call, getting drafted, and then showing up to the team and you're in the big show? I mean, for me, I went to a team. I was 21 years old. I was young. It was an older team. the locker room, the offensive line I went to, there were like a lot of guys in their 30s. They had been around and together a long time. It was an older, wiser, more like anchored in team. And I felt so intimidated, like, holy shit, like, do I belong here? And the playbook's bigger. I felt frustrated trying to learn everything, and the speed was faster playing against the best players. In college, I maybe played against an NFL type player like a couple times a year, and going and playing and practicing against the best players in the world every day was just such a huge expansion of, holy shit, the talent here is crazy. Do I belong? And it really brought up a lot for me. So how did you handle that, going from like, I accomplished this dream, got the phone call, I made it, everything I'd ever wanted is here, and then having to actually go show up at the facility? And what was that experience like when you first walked into the room?
Yeah, well, so I was hoping to get drafted a little earlier. I had a Jones fracture. I had a fifth metatarsal fracture in my foot. I had a pin. The pin broke. That scared a lot of teams off. So I probably would have gone a little earlier. But Carolina took a chance on me in the 5th round. They had a really good foot doctor, and they needed a bigger linebacker. So it was scary for me too, man. I mean, Dan Morgan had just come off a Pro Bowl year, and he's the middle linebacker. And I catch the flight to Carolina, walk in, and I'm in this new city, and walk in the room, and the linebacker coach hands me this big playbook about that thick and just says, learn the mic. That's what he says. And then I sit down, and Julius Peppers is in there. I mean, just some, Mike Minner, Mike Rucker, just some guys they had just been to the Super Bowl 2 years earlier. So now you're on the same team as these guys. It's really scary. And I had the same thoughts. Do I belong here? And, you had some of the kind of mid-tier linebackers who saw you come in, and they're worried about their job. And so who's your friend? Who's not your friend? Because you're trying to be a team, but that's not the actual 53-man roster, man. You're going to go through cuts. So can you trust these guys? Your head's spinning. You're trying to learn the playbook. And as the mic, you're calling the plays. You got to learn the signals. But it was scary, man. I mean, I'd come out I'd tape my wrist up to about my elbow, and I'd have cheat sheets all down it, man, to try to memorize. Yeah. All right, because it's you're no longer calling strength. I mean, you're calling the strength to the receiver. You're calling the strength to the field. There are different ways, different defenses. You're not always calling it to the tight end. So it was scary, but you slowly settle in, and I didn't come from the most NFL style defense. We ran a lot of fire zone at UNLV, so I had the fire zone stuff down. But when it came to dropping off of different receivers or 3 to 2, 2 to 3, things would change so fast. You'd have to revert in the middle of the down. You're off at 3, and then the receiver drags across the middle, and you got to flip back and revert the coverage. That was really hard, but it was good, man. It was. I think I went into it more just trying to make the team because I didn't have that pressure to be a starter. I mean, I wasn't. Dan Morgan was the starter. So I actually leaned on him because I knew he was going to help me out, and he did. He's a great dude. He's the assistant GM at Carolina now, but he really helped me out. Yeah, he knew. I made it clear to him indirectly. I was like, look, man, I'm going to be playing special teams and back you up. And I got to play quite a bit that year. He had a few concussions, and I got to come in.
It's an interesting dynamic because I got drafted as a center, and I, was drafted to kind of replace this long tenured center, Todd McClure, who at that time, I think he was a 12-year veteran. He ended up playing 14 years. And it's an interesting dynamic because you have so much respect for this guy who's solidified as a leader, and he's been a part of the same organization for such a long time. And, I'm drafted to kind of replace him. He knows this. He's getting older, but there's this competition. But for me, it was this like, man, I'm learning so much from this guy. There's this like role model thing. And it's like, I'm not really trying to take his position. I'm like kind of waiting and like doing my thing. And it actually created this interesting dynamic because it was the first year, my rookie year was the first year I was on the sidelines in my whole football career and wasn't playing. And it was so fucking hard for me. Cause like I said, I went to UNLV because I wanted to play right away. I hated sitting on the sidelines. And so I just felt like this energy of waiting around, and as a linebacker you can play special teams, you can kind of rotate in a little bit more, so you're getting a little bit of playing time here and there, or different downs, different packages.
Like a 4 linebacker
as an offensive lineman. Yeah, I'm just sitting on the sideline. It was really, really challenging, and it really kind of created a bad first impression with the team of like who I was and what I was there to do. And Did you deal with any of those challenges of like, man, I got a Pro Bowler in front of me. How do I fit into this team? And am I trying to take his job? Like, how did you navigate that?
Yeah, it was hard, man. It's like this reality show, like, aspect to football. I don't know how to explain it, man. It's like you're trying to play the politics. Like, you got to know who to trust and who not to trust. You don't want to get voted off, but yeah. You're competing, right? Like, you want to be a good teammate. Like, you want the coaches to see that you're being a good teammate. But at the same time, you're trying to beat these dudes out. Like, I'm trying to beat you out. I'm trying to do everything I can to beat you out. And then, the linebackers want to hang out after practice. And you're like, do I hang out with these guys? Do I not? Can I trust them? Because they're going to tell you to relax. Well, yeah, they're relaxed. They're going to make the team. I don't know if I'm going to make the team. I'm trying to, should I break away from them then and kind of, let them know that, like, screw you guys. I'm going to beat y'all out. And so that was really difficult. But yeah, for me, my first game, I mean, I started on all 4 special teams. So I was the 4th linebacker. So I played quite a bit. It wasn't bad, but it was as I develop as a player, are these guys going to start, are they going to kind of play tricks on me, or are they going to like stab me in the back, or how do I do it? So it's, I don't know if it's different with O-linemen where you have 5 guys there and you're like a unit, or if there's, because you can kind of rotate, right? I mean, you got a guy who can play tackle, guard. I mean, so.
Yeah, there's 5 starters, and the 5 starters, this is very rare. My rookie year, all the 5 starters started every single game, which is really rare. I think there was only 2 teams that year that actually did that. There's usually injuries that happen. And, I didn't play at all. I played 1 play because they thought, Todd McClure actually was on the ground rolling around. I thought he blew his knee out. And I'm like, okay, this is it. This is my time. Like, I'm going to take over this job and be the guy. And it was a 3rd down in the red zone, my first play in the NFL. This is the picture of it right here of my first play, which is really cool. And, I snapped the ball and I'm like all nervous, don't really block anybody. It was an incomplete pass, and then we get the ball back to start a 2-minute drill, and I'm huddling up, and I'm like, rallying the guys, lights are on. I'm just like, fuck, this is the big show. I made it. And then all the guys look at me like, Joe, you're out of here. I'm like, what? And I looked at the tunnel, and Todd's running out with his freaking knee all wrapped up, and he didn't miss another snap the whole year. And I'm like, fuck, man. Like, it's interesting dynamic, because there's a part of me that's like, okay, I'm like, it's my turn. He got hurt. I feel bad for him, but like my career, my livelihood, like, this is my chance. And then there's really interesting dynamics like that always happening, man. It's really, really fascinating how you can create a team culture where everybody's supposed to be bonding as a family, but also everybody's kind of out to get each other. And then there's the front office. And it just feels like when you're in a locker room and in an organization, everybody from the freaking strength staff, the 3rd person on the strength staff, the training staff, the head trainer, everybody is looking out for themselves, because it's like, if you don't look out for yourself, nobody else will, and you'll get, like, the machine will roll on and you'll be out of there.
Yeah, true, man. So, like, who do you trust? How do you get along with these guys? How do you develop relationships knowing that these guys could be gone tomorrow, the next day? And within the linebackers, within just like the strength coach, the trainers, do these guys really have my best intentions? Are they really looking out for me? Are they looking out for somebody else? Are they looking out for themselves? Is this trainer going to take me the right way? I mean, does he really want me to succeed? Does he like this other guy better? I mean, these are all things that went through my mind. I mean, maybe I'm weird, but is this strength coach going to train me the proper way? Is he going to invest time into me? Does he really like me? I mean, so just talking about like a reality show, to me, it was very, sometimes I felt like I had to put on a front and kiss a little ass to try to get ahead. Maybe that's just life in general, Joe, but.
And I fucking hated that part of it.
I hated all that. I wanted to play. Just put me on the field. I want to play. I'm not talking to anybody. I'll talk to you on the field. If you make a good play, I'm gonna love you it's just gonna happen, organically. But yeah, if I have to if I have to put my arm around you when the coach comes down the hallway so he knows that I'm a team player, I hate that, man. I don't do that.
I know. I fucking hated that shit too. I hate brown nosing.
Brown nosing, yeah, man. Asking I got to ask a question in the meeting, man. If I don't ask a question, coach is not going to, I don't care. I'm going to get cut. I got to ask a question every time, even if it's stupid, even if it's something that I know that, so I don't know, man.
Yeah, man. What are some of your favorite memories? Like what's a top of the mountain, like pinnacle moment of your NFL career where we're just like, this is fucking it. I made it. Did you ever have one of those or?
Probably New England, man. New England probably coming in for Dan Morgan, taking Corey Dillon down for a loss was a big, guy I had on my fantasy team probably a year or two before that. Taking him down, just, breaking, buckling Stephen Neal, big old lineman, wrestled at Cal State Bakersfield, I believe, knocking, buckling him in the wedge. He was down. They had to come and take him off the field. That was my second game.
Of your career?
Playing against Tom Brady. Yeah, New England. That was a lot of fun. That was like a welcome. I got the nerves out the first game. We played New Orleans at home. And that was a lot of fun. All those games, my fourth game against Brett Favre, I stuffed, what's his name? Stuffed Amon Green for no gain on 3rd and 1 to force a punt. The announcer, I guess John Madden thought I was Dan Morgan. He's like, that's another Dan Morgan-like tackle by Dan Morgan. I'm like, come on, man. You cheated me out of my glory moment there, dude. But
Did you watch that afterwards?
I watched it afterwards, yeah. Because somebody said, they didn't even give you credit for that. I was like,
how'd that make you feel?
I joked. I kind of gave Dan Morgan a nudge afterwards, but he wasn't having any of it. That's why I go back to the politics. I was like, dude, be happy for me, dude. I'm not going to beat you out here. But he was like, yeah, whatever, man. I went back in next series. I'm like, all right, dude. So, Dan's great, man. Dan's good.
Good people.
It was stuff like that. But that was a lot of fun. That Monday night game against Favre, getting out there. But these are the bits and pieces. That rookie year, that when you look up on Monday Night Football and you're like, man, I made it playing against Brett Favre. I watched the kid. I think my mom, trying to think when it was, probably 10 years old. She took me to Soldier Field in Chicago to see Bears Packers. And I'm watching Brett Favre in this snowsuit. I'm freezing in that stadium. And then you get to play against the guy. So, you probably played against guys like that. You looked up to him or defensive
one guy
players.
that I got to play with, which was really cool, was Tony Gonzalez. Towards the last 3 years of his career, he played for Atlanta. And he was the one guy, when I met him in the locker room, I'm just like, whoa, because he played at Huntington Beach, which is right down the street from my high school. It was in the same league as my high school. So he was talked a lot about when I was younger as the local guy that made it. He's a Hall of Fame, one of the best tight ends, not only the best tight ends, but best receivers to ever play the game. So just being in his presence, I was just like, holy cow. And I actually got to know him really well and had some experiences with him off the field. And yeah, he's just such a good dude. And I was just so grateful to be around players like that. And the longer I played in the league, all of that wore off. It's like, oh, these are just guys. I remember having a moment when I was, I think it was my 6th or 7th year in the league, and Mike Evans went up and made this sick one-handed grab in practice from Jameis Winston, long ball down the field. And I was just like, holy shit. Did anybody else see that? It was crazy. But it was like, oh, that just happened. That's just, these players are the best in the world. And I had this moment. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, that's just the standard.
These are the best players in the world. And I'm here and I'm playing. And it was like I didn't allow myself to really connect with, holy shit, I'm one of the best players in the world, because where I was, and I'm sure you can relate to this, is if you allow yourself to feel comfortable and be like, I made it, you'll be out of there in a second. Someone else will take your job. You have to have this chip on your shoulder of always having to prove yourself. And it's one of the reasons why when I got towards the later part of my career in my 8th and final year, I started really connecting with man, I'm tired of having to fucking prove myself to everyone. And what is all this for?
That happened to me too. I started to get a little tired I got tired of the training. I got tired of being injured. But yeah, I got tired of proving myself too. But eventually that started to wear off, and I just didn't feel the desire to prove myself anymore. I felt like I already had. I was like, what, am I just going to keep playing years here? I've made it. I'm a vested NFL veteran, whether I play 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. Is another Pro Bowl, or I guess a Pro Bowl. I never made one, but if I make a Pro Bowl, if I'm all pro, if I win a Super Bowl,
when's enough going to be enough?
When is enough going to be enough? And eventually, I just wanted to do other things. I never got to do a study abroad, Joe. I was in college. Everybody did study abroad. I went to Italy and traveled, and it was football for 18, 19 straight years for me. If you go back to Pop Warner, every year.
Do you remember the moment when you was there a specific moment you remember when it was like, I'm done like this? It may not have been the moment you said you were done, but that moment when you realized I'm on the way out because I just this isn't lighting me up anymore.
Yeah, I think my 5th year after I had a bad sports hernia against the Eagles. I remember that play vividly. We're in Philly and I'm playing Tampa 2, break on the ball, and I felt everything just rip. Finished the game, finished the season. But the second game then, it was a third preseason game. The second game I go out and play, and it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. And I think after that game, I was like, man, I'm done. I'm sick. I'm so tired of this, man. It just wasn't fun anymore. It wasn't fun. And then you start blaming yourself. You're like, am I doing something wrong? Like, why am I getting hurt? Maybe it's got to be me. It can't just be, it can't just be chance. Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I'm training my ass off here. I'm taking care of my body. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And I think, that the rest of that year, I just didn't have the motivation to do it anymore. I hadn't just training my ass off day in and day out. It just got tiring. I didn't have that motivation like I had years past where I was working toward a goal. It was just something, I was squatting 400 pounds to squat 400 pounds.
Yeah. And if you don't have that desire and that passion, I mean, you can't do it.
Yeah. Well, there was no motivation. I was just, I was sick of being 250 pounds. I wanted to do other things. And so, after that 5th year, man, I had a tryout. I got released from Jacksonville, I think with 4 games to go. And I was like, well, maybe if I hold out, like I'll kind of get the fire back. Miami actually brings me in the last week of the season for a tryout, but I was 227 and they ran a 3.4. They expected me to be 250. And so, I worked out okay, but they wanted me to be like, this guy's 227. So they ended up signing a guy off their practice squad. They didn't sign me. And then, I was kind of ready to do something different. I suppose if I had a call, I don't know what I would have done. I would have had to, sure, I'll show up, but I'm not going to make your team.
You're already out the door.
Yeah, probably reason I went to Mexico, man. I was like, well, if I go to Mexico, then nobody can bother me. So
tell us about that. So this process of letting go, and you were kind of in, 1 foot out, realizing it's not really feeling in alignment anymore. What's next? I'm sure you're having these questions of, okay, now what do I do? And there's an excitement to that. Like I remember being like, I don't know what my life is like outside of this identity of a football player. And there was a part of me that was excited about experiencing the freedom from that, traveling, like you said, experiencing things that I never had an opportunity to because I was just always focused on this one thing. And, as I went through that process my final year and finally walked away, when the finality of I'm never going to be able to play this game that I really, really loved and put so much of my life into, the finality of that hit me. And it felt like an actual void in my heart. And there was just grief and emotion that I just had never felt before. But it led me on this process of really wanting and desiring to know who I am underneath this facade of a football player. What was that experience like for you, finally walking away and knowing you're never going to play again?
Oh, it was scary. I was scared shitless, man. I didn't know what to do. I cried to my mom. And now here I'm 28 years old. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. Like, who am I? What am I? What am I doing? And I think the hardest part, Joe, is that everybody thought you were crazy. Like you had this picture in your mind of what your life could be after football, what it could be. And it was a little blurry, but you were excited about doing something. But everybody thought you were nuts. They're like, what do you mean you're not going to play football anymore? Like it was football or bust. Like some people thought if you don't play football, like you're a failure. If you're not playing football, like this is who you are. And so that for me, I had to get away. I had to reinvent myself. And
was there specific people, like specific conversations you remember having with people? Was it friends? Was it family? Was it relationships?
It was a relationship.
What are you talking about? You're done playing. Like,
I had a girlfriend. I had a girlfriend at the time who was like, what do you mean? You should keep going. Like, you can do it. You're a good player. And it wasn't that I wasn't good. I was tired of, I was just tired of the training. I was tired of the grind. After so many years of it, being injured, frustrations, like just working my ass off and being what I thought was perfect shape. And then you have this high ankle sprain. And you're out for 5 weeks. Why is that? What did I do? I'm just trying to play. So, and your parents, like, this is who you are. And I don't know, maybe to them, Joe, like I was I was this figure, or they talk a lot. Like, my son plays in the NFL, or my boyfriend plays in the NFL, and to them that gave their life a lot of meaning. I don't know, and so you felt like you were letting all these people down if you did walk away from the game, and I think that was really hard for me. And that's another reason why I wanted to get away. Like, it wasn't going to be enough for me to like go into broadcasting or go into coaching, because I would still, that wouldn't change me. I'd still be a football player. And so for me to really change and really like die and be born again, I had to get away. I had to get away and come back as something different. And I knew a guy named Rob Morrissey, worked for the NFL New York headquarters. I kept in touch with him throughout my career, and I hit him up and just said, hey, would you have anything in New York? I'm going to go to New York. I'm getting out of here. And he didn't have anything, but he did me one better. He said, no, but we got a position in Mexico City. I was like, that's even better. I'm gone. So I took off and flew down to Guanajuato. It's a tourist destination. It's actually a really safe part of Mexico. And lived down there for 4 months, studied Spanish, and had the best time of my life. And nobody understood it. See, this is the thing. When you play football, everybody gets it. Everybody understands why you're doing it. It makes sense to them. Nobody understands why you're going down to Mexico and working some low-level, low-paid job. That sounds stupid to these people. And so I actually... then you feel like you're letting them down, but I actually grew to appreciate it, because it was me. For once in my life, I was doing something that I wanted to do, and it was only me, and nobody else could understand it. And I was like, this is me. This is something that I have for myself, and I enjoyed sharing football with other people. You get them tickets, you talk about the games, they tell people about you. Nobody's telling anybody I'm down in Mexico City, man. So I got to do something that I felt like it was just, I didn't have to share with anybody else. And I don't know if that sounds selfish, but it was really therapeutic for me, man.
Yeah, that's powerful, man. I feel the same way. It's crazy the correlations of our story of wanting to do something for myself and nobody really understanding why I was walking away in my prime. My parents are like, you're going to say no to millions of dollars, and like, what are you going to do? Get a job? I'm like, well,
get a van. Do you get a van and a dog? And what you do? Drive around? I mean, like, he's going to understand.
For
he's going to understand that, dude. And so it's hard. Like, did you have to? Did people call you and like, what are you doing? Like, are you?
Yeah, man.
When are you going to go? When are you
going to alone? So, I felt super isolated. I felt like nobody really understood. Like, it's very similar to what you're saying, man. And somehow I intuited like I need to go on an adventure and I need to let go of all of this shit and just come back to myself and figure out who I am. And I don't know where that intuition came from, but it was this desire to go on a pilgrimage to experience my freedom. And I'm so grateful that I had the courage to do that, because if I didn't do that and I would have even just stayed in Tampa, and then the next season would have started, I would have just had all of this, like, man, this stagnant energy of like everybody, my whole life, what I would be doing is moving on without me. And now I'm just kind of stuck here. I just knew I needed to get moving and I needed to go somewhere. Wow. And I wasn't planning to do it for a couple of years. And I wasn't planning to go like really, I think at the time it wasn't this like knowing to go find myself. It was, holy shit, I have no idea who I am. There's this huge, unknown, scary thing in front of me. And so I'm just going to get moving and I'm just going to start going somewhere. And so same with you, like going down to Mexico, like give me an opportunity. I just need to go change my environment and go do something. And I think a lot of people, even, not just athletes, like a lot of people there's a lot of shifts happening in their lives. And a lot of people hang on so tightly to who they are, what they do, where they live. And the universe or something deeper within themselves is calling them to say, hey, you're no longer satisfied with this thing. You're not happy, but you're still struggling to make a change. And I think it's really powerful for people to hear, like, you didn't go down to Mexico to go, find the next thing. You just needed to go have some space to come back to yourself. And when you do that and you're able to let go of these things, that's when the next phase kind of starts presenting itself. But you have to have the courage to go, fully separate yourself from this old way of being, which is really, really hard for people.
It's super hard, man. It's super hard, but it ultimately made me a better person. I mean, I your first year or two, I was very frugal, but then toward my fourth and fifth year, when you're coming into a lot of money, I can speak for myself, man. I mean, I bought a Range Rover cash. This thing was TVs in the back. I wanted to treat myself because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. I mean, I shouldn't be driving around in my lifted Jeep. My teammates have this stuff. I should have it. You get the Louis bags. I did a lot of that stuff, and I don't regret it, man. I'm 25. Like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm out dating girls. I'm in the NFL. I'm going to have a good time. But yeah, going to Mexico, China, Japan, it made me such a minimalist, man, because I had to leave all that stuff behind, and it totally changed my way of thinking. And yeah, you come back to the States, and I'm just totally different person. Still very, I drive a 88 F-150 I bought for $900. A 2012 Nissan Sentra I got for $6,500 cash. Just very, I don't know, living in China, living in Mexico, Japan, it really forced me to appreciate, non-materialistic things. Like I had to be okay with just me. I had to be okay getting on a subway, and I started to enjoy that. I started to enjoy that part of life that I had never really had before, just being, and, just nobody knows who I am. I've got to be happy. Nobody knows me. Football's not here. I've got to find a way to make it. And really it forced me to just, dig into myself and figure out who I am, what makes me happy, who am I? And so, yeah, now I come back, I don't have any social media. I have a Facebook, but it doesn't have my real name. It's just so I can get tenants because I use Facebook Marketplace. And I'm very just fly under the radar. I have a real estate investment company, but it doesn't bear my name in any way. Nobody knows. And I still try to carry those lessons I learned abroad and into my life today. But I think I do that I think that's where I came to grips with football, Joe. It was hard for me to leave, but I still carry all those lessons and all those trials and tribulations. I carry that inside me. So I still feel like, because at first it was like, I just 17 years of my life is gone. Like you said, you spent all this time playing this game and that's gone. And eventually I came back and said, look, it's not gone. Like all those lessons, all those experiences, everything that, I learned is still in me. And I can carry that part. That can be my football, I guess, for a lack of better words. So,
yeah. Takes time to integrate all that, and I'm still integrating those parts of myself. And when I first walked away, it was fucking hard because I was like, there's a lot of different layers I had to uncover. Part of it was the politics, like we talked about. The business side of the NFL took a lot of the love I had for the pureness of the competition in the game that I love so much, and so all the bullshit that was involved, all the injuries, what I did to my body, and there was a part of me that was like, fuck, I just don't want to have anything to do with this anymore, the identity. And there was part of me that was pushing it away almost and kind of running away from it, wanting to be like, I want to be known for something else. And I'm just now 5 years later starting to integrate those parts of myself as, that's still who I am. I've learned so much about who I am from football, and I'm so grateful for the path that it's led me down. But it took me a while to own that. And I want to get more into your journey from Mexico. You said you went to China and Japan. You said you were in Mexico for 4 months. So take us on that journey of self-discovery and travel. What was the inspiration behind that, and what did you learn about yourself? What was the reason for going to these abroad places to live, and what was that experience like?
I wanted to improve my Spanish. So I went to Guanajuato early. The job was actually in Mexico City, but I went to Guanajuato. I was reaching out to a few host families in Mexico. I wanted to go somewhere I'd never been. I mean, I went to Cozumel. I went to Cozumel once on a cruise, on a Panther cruise, actually, man. It was a team cruise. But I wanted to go somewhere and learn and immerse myself and get away. Nobody knows me. At that point, I was so just hurt and devastated. I just wanted to get away from everything. And then once my Spanish got to par, then I went to Mexico City for 3 years. I was there 3 years, had a radio show with a bunch of guys talking NFL, NCAA, and then Mexico college football.
Were you talking in Spanish, or was it like a bilingual
Spanish,
radio
talking
station?
all in Spanish, man. All in Spanish, dude. It was all in Spanish. Because I wanted to get to that point, though, and I knew I had to, train, man, just like football. I had to apply those same principles, but just
what was
into
the
something
inspiration
else.
of wanting to learn Spanish?
I wanted to succeed, man. I wanted to make it. I wanted to be a success, and I was so devastated. I felt like people perceived me as a failure. And I wanted to prove people wrong, and I wanted to prove myself right, that I could do it.
People in Mexico, or your family from walking away from the NFL?
Anybody and everybody in the States, man. Anybody and everybody who may have thought like, oh, you're not playing anymore, you suck.
So why Spanish though? Spanish was how you were going to prove that you were successful, or is it more of a personal challenge of like,
just
I
more
can
of
be
a personal,
bilingual?
Yeah, more of a personal challenge, and this is what's in front of me, and I have a chance to maybe make it with the NFL on the business side, and so I'm going to go down there and do that. And I took 6 hours of classes a day, 5 days a week, man. Just Spanish. You got a Spanish speaking girlfriend, a Mexican girlfriend down there. All your friends are from
That's
Mexico, fun. And then when I got to Mexico City, I still keep these friends. I still have to keep in touch today. Guys who worked with me in the NFL office, guys my age, they got me into kind of the Mexico City, a little social scene. And so we'd go out and salsa dance and drink tequila. And
once you became bilingual and you kind of accomplished that goal, I mean, how did you feel about yourself? Did it kind of fill that void and make you feel like, okay, I proved to myself that I could do this?
Yeah. I started to feel better about myself. I felt more confident. I felt like, hey, maybe there's more to this. Maybe there's more to me than I thought. I still wanted to stay away from the actual league, but I was working for the league, so that was kind of hard because you're running like a Super Bowl event. They're like, hey, former NFL player Adam Seward's going to run a couple of different drills, and he's going to you're going to throw a ball through a hole, and then he's going to do some cones. And then people are like, do you know Tom Brady? Stuff like that. I'm like, fuck, I'm trying to get away from all this stuff, man. I just want to I'm down here to step, who are you? So that kind of stuff comes back and you're just like, So
is that what made you say, fuck this, I'm going to go to Japan now?
Eventually they weren't going to offer me a full-time position. NFL Mexico wasn't. And that's what I wanted to. I felt like the NFL, they have a really good program to get guys abroad. I don't know how serious they are about hiring you full time. They'll get you down there, but now you're with the locals. They have people they hire in the local market, and they're all really cool. But do they really want an American working in the office? And they weren't going to give me a position. And so I said, I'm not ready to come back home. I reached out to the lady at the NFL office, and she said, yeah, you want to go to China? We'd love to have you. You've done a great job. Go to China. And so I did the same thing, man. Found a family in Beijing, because Beijing's where the office was at the time. It's since moved to Shanghai.
Did you learn Chinese?
Learn Chinese, man.
So you're trilingual? How many languages do you know?
4: Spanish, Japanese.
Wow.
Yeah, man. So,
and you got these opportunities through the NFL. The NFL set these up for you, and they were like, do they have offices in all over the country or all over the world? What is that?
So they do. They have, from what I know, I'm missing a few probably, but London, Germany, Brazil, Canada, Mexico, China.
And what are these? Why do they have offices there if they're not playing football? Is it more like kind of taking over the world type business, like marketing or just having a presence?
Promote the league. They want to promote the league. They want to have a presence down there and do run events and help out with the local football market. So they promote, do events during the Super Bowl. So I traveled all over China. That was a blast, man. Going to like Guangzhou, Shanghai, doing events. Barry Sanders came down to a Guangzhou event. Got to hang out with him. Super cool dude, real humble. Had a Chinese quarterback hand the ball off to him. I mean, how cool was it for that guy? I mean, we were like, doing a demonstration for these fans, and the MC's like, Barry's in the backfield, ready to go, man, looking like, something out of the 91 NFC Championship game. And guy snaps the ball. This little Chinese, he's probably 16 and hands the ball. Barry comes through, man, everybody claps. It was just really cool. I organized all that. So that gave me a lot of joy. Cordell Stewart came down once. Trying to think of all the guys we had. We had a few guys. Probably forgetting a few now.
Do you think it helped you with this transition, being a part of the game in that way? Was it like just far enough, you distanced yourself far enough away from like the actual game in the States, but you still got to be a part of the game even in this way? You think that helped you with the transition? Yeah,
it kind of, it validized, it gave my career kind of that validity I was looking for. We're in the States, there's so many good players everywhere, and you're just some guy, I know an NFL player and I know one. But in Guangzhou, China, you felt like, I guess I really did accomplish something. And it started to feel that way. Like, hey, maybe I wasn't a failure. Maybe 5 years in the NFL is a really big accomplishment. Maybe I should stop feeling sorry for myself. Maybe I should try to come to grips with this and say, look, I did have a great, maybe at the time I thought I should do better. And that's just a competitor in me. You want to play more years. You want to make more tackles. You want to win more games.
Where do you think that where do you think that desire to be great or wanting to be known, like obviously, like because I feel the same way. It's like, I feel like I never really fully accomplished what I set out to do. And I feel like I never really would, looking at it now. I mean, it's like Tom Brady, right? Like he's won however many Super Bowls and he's still coming back for more. And where do you think that desire to be known, to be accepted, to be validated for being a good player, where do you think that comes from?
Just, you know, I don't know, man. Maybe it's just a human trait, I guess. I mean, everybody wants to be seen. Everybody wants to be validated for in their own minds, and everybody has different standards. And I think we're all validated to a degree. I mean, people recognize you. People say hi, but I don't want you to say hi when you ask me how I'm doing. I don't want you to ask me how I'm doing. I want you to ask me how my life is going. And everybody wants more, and everybody expects a certain amount from society, I suppose. And yeah, I eventually was able to get out of a lot of that by going abroad. And I'm like, okay, I have to come to grips that nobody in this country knows who I am and nobody's really going to care. So what am I going to do here? Whereas in the States, I was I'm going to drive my Range Rover to the Palms Casino, and I'm going to make sure that guy leaves my Range Rover out front because I want everybody to know I was like that. And here's $100 tip. I'm going to tip you 100 in, 100 out because that's what Carrot Top does. That's what, I read that he does that. And so I want to be, I still want people to know me, to appreciate me. And it was just a lot of work. I'm just getting old, Joe. I don't have any desire to do that anymore. But I do think going abroad, I think just resetting my mind, I think that helped a lot. So
yeah, a powerful part of the experience. And it's cool that you did that because it's been a huge thing for me is traveling. It's widened my perspective and awareness out of the narrow vision of what I think reality is, especially not just in this, like where I grew up and then where I played college and then playing in the NFL, but then letting go of all that. It's like, holy shit, traveling around in a van and meeting people just from all walks of life. And then traveling abroad is like expands your awareness and your understanding of different cultures. And it's so important to be a well-rounded human to have that perspective shift. And sadly, I think a lot of Americans don't really have that perspective, which is why they get so lost in all of the bullshit and the stories. And it's really cool that you went on that journey. What brought you back? When did that journey kind of come to an end and say, I'm ready to go back to the States and kind of reintegrate into my homeland?
Well, so when I was with NFL China, I had my managing director. He had done an executive MBA at University of Chicago, and he did it in Taiwan, I believe. He did it with a university in Taiwan. So a lot of these, there are some joint MBA programs out in Asia where an American university will come out and they'll sponsor a program with a local university. And so he thought I should do something like that. The NFL was going to pay for it. So any NFL guys listening, the trust, I don't know how much they give you now, but they were given $20,000 a year to pursue a 4-year degree. So I used that twice. I got 40 from them. And then if you're so many years out, your last team, your most recent team will reimburse you up to, I think Jacksonville gave me $45,000, reimbursed me $45,000 and education expenses. So I got it all paid for, otherwise I probably wouldn't have done it. But I went to the University of Southern California, and they had a program with Shanghai Jiao Tong University. So during that program, I had a Japanese classmate who said, you ought to go coach in Japan. I didn't know anything about it. I got football in Japan, and they actually have a really good team. They're actually like the forefront in Asia. Like they whoop everybody in Asia, man.
Wow.
So she wrote a few letters, emails on my behalf, and a team in Kyoto University bit and said, we're actually looking for an American defensive coordinator. The manager of the team said I was going to fly out to California. I'm going to cancel that. Booked me a flight from Beijing to Osaka, Japan. And I met with the team and ran them through some drills, and I loved it and literally packed what I could. I had a girlfriend at the time. I still feel bad about this, but said goodbye to her. And I flew Beijing to Osaka, and I was home. And it's like, all right, now you got to learn. The characters are somewhat similar, but now you got to learn a whole new language. But I was there 4.5, 5 years.
Wow. How long did it take you to learn a language?
That one was a little easier because at that point I learned two, and I knew the process. Your brain, your brain changes, and you understand what you need personally to learn the language. But you have to immerse yourself. And to anybody listening who wants to learn a language, you have to be willing in this, I guess, anything in life. You got to be willing to sacrifice short term. Okay, there are areas of Beijing, areas of Shanghai, areas of all these big cities where you can go and find English speakers. And it's hard for an English speaker because so many people speak English. But the way to do it, you've got to sacrifice for those first 6 months. Go to areas of town where nobody speaks English and just do your best. And people are going to make fun of you. They're going to tell you that you should just speak English, that you're wasting your time. You got to tell them all to shut up. And you have to find a girlfriend or boyfriend, girls are listening, that will put up with you, who will say, I think this guy is so cute, and I think it's just awesome that he wants to learn my language, and I will speak to him. And she probably speaks broken English. And eventually you'll not only be better than her, you'll speak better, in this case, Chinese than she speaks English, but you'll start to pass up all these other people in the social scene. Like all these people who learn English in school, your Chinese is better than their English.
Yeah. And so that takes about 6 months?
6 months, if you focus, man. I mean, I lived with a family. I lived with a family who thought I was from Mexico. I did it strategically, Joe, because I didn't want people to. So you spoke Spanish
and then tried to learn.
If they tried to speak English, if they'd speak English, I'd say, no entiendo nada. I'd say something in Spanish, and I guess I got to speak Chinese because I don't speak any Spanish.
You did this intentionally so that you could immerse yourself and don't speak English to me. I want to know how to speak Japanese.
I brought T-shirts from Mexico City that had like Pumas, Americano, like Pumas football, so they would really believe it. Oh, I guess this guy is from Mexico, man. He didn't speak any English. Yeah, so because then what are your alternatives, man? Everybody speaks English, so if you are a bad Chinese speaker, put yourself in whatever country. If you don't speak that language well, they will default in English, and you will never learn. You're never going to get a chance. The only chance you have is to go somewhere where nobody speaks English, and most people do. Even if you go into a more rural part of the area, people are going to speak some English.
So where does this desire to learn these languages come from? Because it's like, this is a really unique thing I've never really heard. Like, immerse yourself. I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to learn this language because I want to so bad. Is it just another aspect of that proving yourself to yourself kind of thing?
Yeah, I wanted to succeed in something else, man. And I was going to do it. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right, man. I'm not going to go in and just half-ass something. That's not me. And just kind of, going in the circle, finishing the circle here. I came to grips that was me. That was what it wasn't necessarily playing on third down. Like everything it took to get me to the NFL, I still had all that. I didn't lose it. Maybe I don't put the helmet on anymore, but I still have all that. I didn't lose it because I felt like I lost all that. I felt like when I retired, I lost so much, and it finally hit me that I didn't lose all that. Maybe I don't put the helmet on, but I still have all those skills and all those abilities. Maybe I'm not going to deadlift 700 pounds, but so what? I can still put just all the energy I put into deadlifting 700 pounds, I'm going to put into learning another language. I still have that all.
That's amazing.
So that started to make me feel better and really put me at peace and put me at ease. So I wanted to make it, man. I wanted to succeed. And it meant more to me as an American football player than I do. Most Americans can't speak languages. Well, you haven't met this guy here, man. And I just, I wanted to do it and proud that I did, but I guess you put so much weight into your NFL career, right? Your NFL career is better than anything else you could ever do. And it took me so long to say, is that really true? Is this the greatest thing I'll ever do? Because, it's like, I can't do this anymore, and anything else I do is going to suck. Well, it took me a while to say, no. The NFL was good, but everything I'm doing now is still good. I'm still doing great things. The NFL was just one part of my life that was great, that I did well, but I've got all these other dreams, man. I still have it all in front of me. And so, it took time to kind of take the weight off of all that in it, because for so long, that was it. That was the pinnacle. And now you've got to find another pinnacle. Well, it takes time to come to grips with that. And for me, it was, hey, the NFL was unbelievable, but there are still some unbelievable things I'm doing. Is learning 4 languages just as good as making it to the NFL? I say yes. It took me a while to come to that. Some people would say no. Some people would say that's stupid.
Well, it's definitely more valuable in a way, learning 4 languages. Holy cow.
Yeah, for me,
I think there's probably less people that can speak 4 languages in the world than played in the NFL. Maybe not.
Well,
maybe played football.
You gotta keep going, man. Somebody once told me, bro, don't let the NFL be the highlight of your obituary. And so I took that to heart and said, yeah, man, don't let playing fill in the blank there. But for me, it was the NFL. Don't let the NFL be the highlight obituary. Adam stopped playing football at 28, and that's the greatest thing he ever did. He lived to be 80, 90, and he never did anything better than that. And so I always said, no, I'm going to fill it up. I still got a lot more to go here. So when they bring up the NFL, that's just going to be a smaller part. They're going to bring it up, but hey, he played in the NFL. Oh, and then he did, and then he did, and then he did. And so that motivated me, brother.
Yeah, it's part of this journey of remembering who you are, not just what you do and how you apply yourself to becoming successful. Because you didn't become great at football because you're a good football player. It's because of all these intangible parts of who you are that you applied to football that became great. And then being able to understand and remember and go on a journey of, okay, the thing that got me to be a great football player was not because I was just a good athlete. It's because of all these intangibles that I developed and this mindset and this ability to push myself outside my comfort zone and learn and grow and fail and handle competition and all of these things, and being able to apply that into other things. And once you really figure that out, the world opens up. It's like, what are we actually capable of? If we achieved one of the statistically most challenging things to do. I mean, I can't tell you how many times when I was a kid, I was like, I want to play in the NFL. I was like, well, you know how fucking hard that is. You should probably find a plan B or do something else. It's like, no, I'm going to do this. And then being able to accomplish that, achieve that. And now it's like, okay, it takes time for me to start learning a new skill. But I'm applying myself in the same way with that tenacity, that passion. And it's cool to finally start getting to a place like, holy shit, I can accomplish things that is so much greater than just an NFL. And I feel the same way. That's just an aspect of who I am. But I feel like I'm just getting started on this greater journey of what I'm being called to create.
Yeah, bro. I mean, that's agree 100%. I mean, that was me. So you're trying to make it to the NFL for your whole life, and that's all you do. And all of a sudden now, I mean, it's only been 12 years. I mean, I wanted to make it to the NFL far longer than that. For a far longer period of time, and so. I guess, I had to go kind of easy on myself and say, look, there's still more to do, and I can still be born. Like you said, all those intangibles, all those skills that you had that got you to the NFL, you still have those, man. You still have them. I mean, now that being said, I still miss the smell of the grass. I mean, I still miss the jitters, but that's part of it, man. That's part of the retired experience. Everybody retires, man. Everybody has to hang it up at some point. So
yeah. What's your vision now? What do you want to create? What are your aspirations, ambitions? What is it that you're putting your energy into? What's the next thing with this? I mean, learning 4 languages and traveling the world, it's insane, dude. So where are you putting all that energy into now?
I'm trying to be a dad, trying to be a good father. A lot of tummy time with my kids. But just being a better person, I had kids later in life. I mean, I'll be 41 in June.
How has that experience shifted you?
Well, it's made me better, man. It's made me a lot better. I was scared to death. I didn't necessarily want kids. Everybody said it's different when you have your own. I didn't believe them. It's true. I mean, it is different, but it's made me better. I thought it wouldn't. I thought it would. It would kind of handicap me here, and it's actually made me better, man. I take better care of myself. I get up earlier. I'm more disciplined. Cut out a lot of things in life that weren't doing me any good. My spouse is very supportive. She takes care of me. She motivates me, and it gives me a purpose. Like, it gives me just another purpose in life. Like, I want to be a good father. I want my kids to be a success. So get up earlier, go to bed a little earlier. Eat better, especially being older. I don't want to be that old dad. I want my kids to still think I'm hip and cool. And so it motivates me to stay in shape, take care of myself. We're just, it's different, man, but still trying to find time to also, have some alone time to have that, and I get it. I mean, my wife and I, she's awesome. We understand that she gets some time to herself. I get time to myself.
Oh, it's so important, man.
It's very important, man. Yeah, because your kids, like, they'll drive you crazy. If you're just 24/7, you gotta take some time to yourself and ask for help, and keep yourself going. So, but it's been good, man. It's been good growing a real estate investment company. We went under contract on a former Family Dollar about a week ago. Family Dollar's moving out. The owner built them another one, and so it's about 8,000 square foot, just empty space. I think it has a lot of potential. Picked it up for a good price and close on that 21st, and then try to get it rented out, and then we'll look to the next investment. But yeah, that's a lot of fun. I enjoy the competition, competing against sellers and buyers, fixing up properties, trying to maximize value. That gives me a lot of fulfillment as well. So
you're back in Vegas now, right? Full circle.
Yeah,
full circle on the conversation. What brought you back there?
It's just home. It's all my connections are here. All my childhood friends are here.
How did it feel when you first came back?
It felt a little weird. My sister she's got 3 kids, and I wanted to be an uncle. I wanted to be and more involved in their lives. But also I started to get a little, after, 8, 9, 10 years of living abroad, it started to, honestly started to get a little old. It felt like I was living a vacation every day, which sounds great to some people, but,
yeah, if your vacation's your vacation, it's not a vacation.
No, it wasn't. But it just felt like, I wanted to be.
You felt stagnant.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun coaching football in Japan, but it was never going to be like a career. It was just fun to do. It was you made decent money.
Tell me about this. You did that for 4 years?
Yeah, for 4 years, man. So I coached Kyoto University for 3, and then I coached a semi-pro team in a little town outside of Osaka called Amagasaki.
Man, that must have been fun, dude. I always dream about going back and coaching, just being a part of the game in that way and being able to compete.
Brother. Yeah. So yeah, you can actually see I got a little banner there my Chinese family gave me, man. I wanted to kind of show it off there. So lighting's probably not as good, but anyway. But yeah,
dope, man.
Yeah, it's been good. It was good. So just coming back now and getting something going. I trying to find a job. I don't know how you've done or if you tried, but it's not the easiest thing to do when you've just been playing football. You don't have a ton of experience. And so I tried to send out my resume, and I got some interviews, but it was hard. It was hard to lock something down. And eventually I just said, just like I had my whole life, and I said, I'm going to bet on myself, and had some property and started to buy more risky stuff, bought some, fourplexes and retail centers in lower income areas. My Spanish is good, and I found that I love it. I love the connection with the tenants. I love the relationships, and kind of growing something. Because with football, it's going to come to an end, and it sucks to put all your time, like you said, you train your ass off, and it comes to an end. But like I said, I took what I could from football and I carried it with me, and now I'm trying to build something that I can do, in the wee years of my life. So
beautiful, man. I really appreciate it. If you could give yourself one piece of advice back 10 years ago when you were first walking away from the game, or maybe, when you were first walking away from the game and going through that big transition or leading up to that, what would you tell yourself knowing what you know now?
I just say I tell myself to keep my head up, man. I'd say you had a great career, even if people say you don't. I was very hard on myself. And I was very angry, and I felt like I let everybody down. And I felt like my coaches who said I would never be this Pro Bowl player, all pro, they got the best of me. And it was really frustrating. And I would never be able to prove them wrong. And I guess that was a lot, that was further motivation to go out and try to make something of myself. But yeah, I mean, it go back even farther, man. Go back 10 years from then, and I'm in high school. And if I'd have said I was just, I just wanted to be drafted, that would have been a success. To start in college would have been a success. I mean, so when is it? When is it enough? So if you get to be, what do you got to get 5 years or so, and you're vested? I'm a vested NFL veteran, man. You get your pension coming, you get your 401k, your annuity, all your health, everything you got. Is that successful? That would have been a success in college. But it wasn't anymore. And so I would just say, look, man, you were successful. You're successful now, go out and be successful in something else. But yeah, I would have told myself to keep my head up, man. I mean, there are far greater tragedies in life, Joe, than not winning a Super Bowl, man, than not being an All Pro. And
I don't
I
know
think
if there is. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, I think if you watch any edition of the nightly news or front page of any newspaper, man, you'll understand that really quickly, man. A lot of heartache and pain in the world, and so I would try to. I needed the experience, man, for me to realize it. But yeah, I would have told myself, hey, keep your head up. You did well. You did fine. Even if, some people are always going to say you didn't. You're always going to have those critics. My opinion is that you didn't make it because you didn't start enough games. You didn't win a Super Bowl, so you suck. But I mean, so what, man?
Yeah. For someone that's found so much success and has traveled and accomplished so much and challenged yourself in so many different ways that I've never even thought about challenging myself, how would you define success? Like, what is success for you, and what does that look like, and how has that evolved over your experience of life?
I think success, man, it's getting up. I mean, it can be cliche, man, but it's answering the bell every morning. It's answering the bell every morning, regardless of whatever is getting thrown at you. It's easy to get up out of bed when things are going well. It's easy to sell houses, to buy houses when the market's on the up. It's easy to invest when things are going well. It's when things are hard. And, some people never get up, man. Some people never, something knocks people down and they never get up. And we're all going to face challenges in life. I'm convinced they come in different shapes and forms. Some are self-inflicted and some aren't. You may be doing well, but something may happen to your kids. Something may happen at work. Wasn't your fault, but we're all dealt a certain amount of crap in life, and you just have to keep pushing forward. And something I've always, I try to keep a lot of this in my mind, but one of the biggest differences between successful and unsuccessful people is this, successful people happen to life, and unsuccessful people, life happens. It's always woe is me. Something happened to me. It's not my fault. Don't you know what I'm going through? And that's not to say we don't need to reach out once in a while. Everybody needs to reach out and talk and get help, but, bad things happen. You got to keep moving forward. And had I let any of the stuff happen to me in life keep me down, then I wouldn't have moved on to the next thing.
Yeah, it really is a state of being. It's this difference between a victim consciousness or a creator consciousness, and it's the lens in which you view reality. And the same things can happen to two different people, and they experience them in widely different ways. And it's an inner journey, an inner decision. It's shifting your perspective and being grateful for both the good things in life and the challenges, because all the challenges are really showing you what you're made of, who you are, and what you're capable of. And you're definitely a testament to that, and really appreciate you coming on, man, and sharing that with this wild journey you've been on, man. And it's really been super incredible to connect with you, a formal UNLV Rebel, man, who played in the league. It's crazy how similar our stories are, and we experienced different things, and we chose to kind of navigate the path in different ways. But as you're talking, man, I see so much of myself in you, and it's really cool to connect in this way.
Yeah, bro, it's a pleasure, man. I appreciate having me on, and this was good for me, man. I needed to talk, and I needed to get some of this out. But yeah, man, it's success is truly it's a journey, man. It's not a destination. You got to keep moving, and something good happens today, but you got to be prepared for what's going to happen tomorrow and the next day, and the next day. You just got to keep going. I look back, and I'm some things I wish I'd have done differently, but it shaped me, and obviously shaped you as well, I'm very appreciative for the NFL. I'm very thankful for what it afforded me, the opportunities it gave me. And for a while there, I was very angry. But I'm part of the brotherhood as you are, man. And so we're not, it's a very small fraternity, man. Even regardless of how many years you play, it's still a small fraternity, man. So
how did you said you deal with a little bit of anger, and you were angry, and how have you processed some of that emotion and really worked through that over the last since you've been done playing?
Oh gosh, a lot of lot of running, man. I love to run. Loved a lot of yoga, cardiovascular. But I also talk to myself a lot, and I'm not afraid to admit that. I used to be a little when I was younger. I thought I was embarrassed, but I talk to myself a lot. I try to get out. I mean, I talk to myself just like this, but I'll be talking to that wall over there, man, just to get out what I want to say, what's going on in life, to sort out my feelings. I write a lot of stuff down, Joe. I'm a very meticulous note taker. I jot things down all the time just to get it on paper, to look at it. And I may go back days later and what the heck was I? What was this? Yeah, man, it's just, I do believe that competitors like us, we got to have something motivating us always. You can't just, Coach Fox used to say this, we could all just buy a boat and sail around the world, but what would be the point of that? I mean, why do we do this? I mean, and he's right. You got to have something to get you out of bed every morning. And for me, it's my kids, and it's real estate investment. I truly love doing it. I love the competition, and I love my kids, and I love keeping myself in shape. And for me, that's winning. To me, that's success. And it's exciting. It's scary. You still miss football. I'll look at a game, but thankful that I made it. I don't know if you feel that way, Matt. At the end of the day, dude, you made it, man. I mean, you had a small window to make it, and you did. I mean, how many people can say that, man? So.
Not very many, man. Not very many, and I've definitely had to do a lot of work to reconcile that.
No, you did, man. But think of all the things that had to happen for you to make it. I think of the things in college and the high school and the pros. Like, you had to have a few breaks here and there. You make your breaks, though. I believe that you make your breaks.
Yeah,
things happen.
When the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, you got to take it, man. So.
Yeah. Awesome, brother. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're not super active on socials and all that, but is there anywhere people can connect with you if they feel called to reach out, or anywhere they can find you, website?
Yeah, I mean, my Facebook page, it's Hartford, it's my middle name, HARTFORD, and then Adam, ADAM. So it's my middle name and then my first name, and it's a picture of the South China Sea. I went down to Hong Kong, and there's a little really cool beach right out. If anybody ever goes to Hong Kong, called Sheko Beach, right outside of Hong Kong, you can take a bus and get there, and you're literally in the South China Sea. It's unbelievable. Just laying there and just be at peace. But yeah, if anybody wanted to write me on Facebook, and I'm old. I don't have any Instagram or Snapchat. I don't know what's TikTok. I'm old, man, but. If people wanted to reach out, they could, but
Instagram, like all that shit's just like a whole fucking thing. I'm not super.
No, man, it's just time. I mean, I guess the old Adam would have been into it. I used to be that guy who would post, and I always share my opinions with everything. Yeah. And now I'm just like, dude, that's cool, man. But I'm more of the guy who wants to know why you feel that way. I mean, I lean far more conservative, but I do have a lot of liberal friends, and I just want to know, explain to me why, because I want to understand. It's not that, we're not bad people. You just feel differently. And I want to understand how you feel. That'll help me find, my cousins are very liberal, and we have a lot of conversations, and it's, as long as we can keep them healthy, like, why do you feel that way? Maybe I'm missing something, maybe I don't get it. So, and I think if more people came into discussions like maybe I'm the issue, then I think we'd have better results. So.
Yeah, we can get into that whole deep.
That'll be another time, man.
We'll save that conversation for another time. Until then, man, really appreciate you. Thanks for coming on, and I'll talk to you soon, man.
Hey, baby, go Rebels, man. It's always a pleasure.